Oh, what's up guys, my name is JDCook5 and welcome back to another episode of the F1 My Team Career Mode, and these are coming thick and fast. You're going to get 2 per week, so we're going to be providing them weekly as always, and we've got a big one ahead of us. A few upgrades being made just to see what we can and can't upgrade, the standard things of the autofill activities being done, and just seeing where we can use our R&D and seeing where the best points are of the car. Obviously we've got a fail part there, so we're going to do that straight away, and that will be able to be ready in 10 days. I think after this Grand Prix it will be available. And just looking where we can spend our money also, we've got a decent budget and we're able to kind of harvest that money and then spend it on upgrades, and with that be kind of for the build times or the fabrication, whatever we please in some ways. So we've got a big Grand Prix underway as we look to see, and we're going to have a wet qualifying as you can see on your screens right now. This is going to be huge, a massive Grand Prix in Monza, the oldest circuit to date I'm pretty sure, and this is going to be a massive one to see if we can kind of develop the car and get any better to where we previously have been, in all honesty, because we have been not the best. I feel like we haven't kind of been the heights that we had previously. I mean, if you go back to Hungary, being the first result being a win, and then we were getting different podiums or getting near to the podium, we've kind of drawn ourselves a little bit away from that, and it's about time that we try and get back into that kind of rhythm and hopefully just better our form. Monza is a brilliant circuit. I really enjoy it. It's a tricky one, but it's an enjoyable circuit at the same time, and that is the main thing at the end of the day. As long as we enjoy it, then who cares what position you come in, because it's not all about winning. And it definitely in the first season of my team, if you don't go with the expensive package and you don't go with the upgrades and everything else, then you're not going to be getting any sort of results. You might be getting the odd one here and there, like we have experienced, and I feel like that is come, but I obviously say we have definitely taken a downwards kind of decline in where we need to be at. So we did an ECU management one initially, and that didn't go too bad whatsoever. Practice, I didn't really push that much. As you can see, my actual fast side was on the harder, and then we did go on to P10 with Felipe Massa going P21. He's going to be out the door soon, don't get me wrong. I don't feel like he's going to be anywhere near whatsoever. And then we go on to a wet qualifying. I hate the rain. I have to say, I absolutely hate it. You can't go fast, you can't put the power on when you want. I'm not too sure if that's the same for different controller and wheel users, but I really struggle when it, especially as I use the wheel, that I really struggle in the wet, getting the power down, getting through the corners. I mean, in a straight line, the speed is still there, but it's getting late on the brakes, going through the corners and being smooth without having the back end and everything. As you can see, I was going wide on that particular moment. And we do struggle, we really do struggle, and I feel like with it being probably the wettest that we've ever actually driven in the game so far, that probably didn't really help us whatsoever, and I don't think that aided us into kind of getting a decent result in this qualifying to then hopefully go on and be better on in the race. As you can see, the spray is coming off the tyres, and there is a lot to deal with currently as we try and see if we can try and get a decent time on the board. As we go through this sector, as you can now tell, we're on a long straight. The fastest laps are being pit through, so there's a lot of people completing their laps. Hopefully we can get anywhere near that, or we might be near to the back, you just never know. If you've been following previously, you will know our qualifying pace isn't the best. Race pace is where we're at normally, and it just seems to be on qualifying day we aren't able to provide whatsoever. P4 initially that put us in, so at the moment it's not too bad, but as you can see, people went on to the Inters. It probably we should have waited out in some ways, but I was fed up of racing in the rain, and we have to settle for P12 and then Massa on the last on the grid also.
We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today, here at the oldest circuit on the calendar, which hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Verstappen, Russell, Norris, Magnussen, Joe, Gasly, Cook, De Vries, Ocon, Stroll, Bottas, Tsunoda, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Oscar Piastri, Albon, and Felipe Massa. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Here we are then at a dry Monza. We're waiting for them 5 lights to go out. We're getting the rev limiter and it is lights out and away we go. We completely make an amazing start straight past Gasly as you've got Guohan Zhou just in front. Magnussen going past now. Russell, Verstappen and Norris going free into that corner. And just coming up, you'll recognise this corner straight away compared to from the last time from where Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen had a massive collision. And talking about collisions, there is a yellow flag so far. Resumed straight away, so I can only assume it might have been a front wing issue compared with someone with a little bit of debris falling off. But we have slotted ourselves into P9, so we have jumped up a fair few places and we look to see now if we can try and get past George Russell in the Mercedes. We're going to do that and we're also going to get past Lando Norris. A brilliant overtake and through we go. We're into P7. It's only the first lap of 19 and we have got the world champion Max Verstappen just in front of us. Brilliant start, amazing start in fact. That double overtake was phenomenal as we look to try and hold on to the car as we go wide into that corner, allowing a little bit of time, and George Russell and Lando Norris is now going to try and make the charge as they try and hit us on the straight. Lap 1 of 19 just being completed as we go on to lap 2 of 19. Sergio Perez getting the fastest lap. We're not worried about that because we are worried about Lando Norris, who is competing with us now as he goes side by side, and we're going to try and go late onto the brakes into this corner and trying to avoid any collision whatsoever. He's given it the full beans as we go round the corner with no collisions being made, and George Russell and Lando Norris battling it out for P8 and 9. Really good start, as I say, and a really healthy one at that. Making up a load of places so quickly, but it seems to be the front of the pack has disappeared. And Max Verstappen has made a decent gap in front of us. We can just make out as he is there. Fernando Alonso there. We've got the 2 Ferraris of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, and I'm pretty sure Perez is in that kind of mix of the group. So there's very tight-knit groups for where the pack is at the moment. Yellow flag going into caution sector 3. And initially I paused it for whatever reason, I don't know, but we have to go back into ourselves and we're going to kind of ride that one out, shall we say. A bit of an error, and as you can see it's behind us, so I'm not too sure what has happened, but it looks to be George Russell is going down the pecking order and he is the one to go out. And as you can see, he was on that straight initially. He's got full power as he looks to try and see if he can make an overtake on Lando Norris, but it isn't to be because the flags are waving and he is losing power. No smoke being bellowing out of the Mercedes engine, but unfortunately for him it still is a mechanical failure as he has to pull to one side, and that is the end of his Monza Grand Prix. We stay in this position for a long time. It seems to be that we are racing with ourselves and it feels like I'm doing a time trial. Getting very boring, don't get me wrong, but it's lap 9 of 19 and we are in the pits now. We're on the medium set of tyre as we go into the pits this time. Not colliding with anything compared to last episode where we completely smashed into the wall and pretty much scumpered our race chances. As we look to turn in now and see if we can get an optimal pit stop, we do indeed. 2.4 to 2.5, that's what we love. We've been doing it all season and hopefully we can get quicker and quicker. 2.4 seconds, and that is going to put it out to, so people going past us, so we're sliding into P15 as of the moment. We're obviously going to be having people pit, don't get me wrong, but there's now time to warm up the medium tyre and try and make a little bit of a charge, as obviously the pack in front completely dispersed from me, and hopefully we can make up some time. I mean, the quickest, the most person in front of us is Hulkenberg. He is actually going to pit though, so we're going to see the massive jump. Felipe Massa, our teammate, he's going to pit also. He's in no means of competition in this race as we've whizzed past a load of drivers, and that puts us back into our original position of P7 with Carlos Sainz just pitting, and he is about 3 seconds in front. He is going to be on the colder tyre though, bearing in mind, so we have got a lap to make up some time. So if we're going to do it, we're going to do it now, because obviously we're on the colder tyre, he can't push as much, we've got a faster delta, we're quicker on the mediums, and it is definitely now time to push. As we look to see now Carlos Sainz, as you can see, 1.7 seconds, and we've got a purple sector already. So you can see the time that we've made up completely. So we've done a really quick progression in the way that we've pushed forward and then kind of trying to make our mark in this Grand Prix. I mean, P6 I would settle for, in honesty. Qualified 12th, made a decent start, don't get me wrong, but there are other vehicles that are around us that are so much quicker than this engine. And unfortunately for us, we're probably going to have to wait till next season if we're going to get some decent kind of like consistency and decent laps and times and everything else when it comes to kind of the progression of this car. DRS might be enabled as we look to see now we are closing the gap on Carlos Sainz, and if we are within the second, we are going to get DRS on this straight. 700 of a second, so we are gaining time even without the DRS. Be interesting to see where that pulls us up. Fastest lap of the race, so we're no slow coach whatsoever. Seems to be that our qualifying is really hampering our race pace as we look to see now if we can compete with Carlos Sainz. I think about it initially. I'm not going to do it just as of yet because there is no point ruining the Grand Prix, losing a front wing, having to have it where we then have to pit and we've completely ruined our Grand Prix. Take the time, we know we've got the pace, we know we can get past Carlos Sainz, and we are definitely making up a decent bit of time on this straight as we look to go on the left hand side, late onto the brakes, wheel to wheel, and a lovely overtaking spot previous to where we overtook Lando Norris and George Russell at the double overtake. We have done this time in the single one with only Carlos Sainz just in front of us, and we say goodbye to the Ferrari engine, and away we go. And we are definitely faster on this medium tyre with a green delta in sector 1. Sector 2 not looking the best as we had to make a little bit of a move to the side where we are going over the camber and we would have lost time. No ERS in the tank whatsoever, so we're going to have to wait for that to recharge as we look to go and charge onto this Grand Prix now. Sergio Perez the next one that is going to be in front. Now they're kind of toying between the two, Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez. Whether we actually get to that point where we are going to be competing with them, I'm not too sure. But we're going to be settling for P6 at the moment as Carlos Sainz makes a decent bit of time on that straight. More than likely he would have got DRS, and he's going to get DRS on this straight once again. Also, he's definitely going to be competing as we go up to the end of the circuit. So we have completed lap 13, going on to lap 14 of 19. Not many laps left whatsoever, and as you can see the front wing open off Carlos Sainz as we battle through that corner. We have Bigger Bottle going through there, and away we go past Carlos Sainz, late onto the brakes. A bit risky, don't get me wrong, and he definitely kind of weaves himself out of that way, and he is able to kind of avoid any collision. As I say, I'm not too sure if we're going to actually make any time up in front of people, but it is the thing of we have to push, we have to try, and that is what we're here for. We're here to compete, but as I say, we're here to have a good time also. Lap 15 of 19, and Carlos Sainz once again makes the charge. He's got DRS and he's completely through on that bit of the circuit. There's no stopping him as he goes completely past me. And as you can see, he's already made up more than half of a second in front of me. And I'm going to try and maintain that to a second, so then I can hope to get DRS. And then it's a bit of a roles reverse. We're bouncing between the two where I go in front, he goes in front, I go in front, he goes in front. It's one of those. It's the way F1 happens, as you would see in real life also. As we look to try and see if we can make an overtake on Carlos Sainz, we literally have the tiniest of gaps, the tiniest to be. And as you can see, when we went through that corner, we can actually see the pack in front of us being Sergio Perez, Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc. So it'll be interesting to see if we can make up any time on them whatsoever, and maybe, just maybe, this race wouldn't be as bad after all, and we could be fighting for a podium. I mean, it's going to be a big ask, don't be wrong, but we're definitely going to give it our all and see if we can do it. We're on the charge, lap 16 of 19, as we go through the corners, and we're doing really well. We're doing some decent lap times, and we are definitely consistent of what we're providing. Still lap 16 of lap 19, and as see Carlos Sainz once again getting a DRS, and through he goes. There's no kind of arguing with that whatsoever. We tried to go late onto the brakes, we're going to go wheel to wheel, but unfortunately for him, he's got the inside line. He weaves out of that corner, as you can see, the back completely weaving out of him, nearly spinning into the wall there, and we are competing on this straight. We're going to be wheel to wheel as we complete lap 16, going on to lap 17, and it's definitely going to be to see who he's got later on the brakes. We're able to slot ourselves just in front of Carlos Sainz, and Charles Leclerc is 1.7 seconds in front, so that is probably the closest the gap has ever been. It's just a shame that we are so close to the end, because I feel like if you were to give me some more laps, I definitely would be up there. My ERS management could be a bit better also, and we could have definitely harvested the battery a little bit more just to be able to try and be up there. And I feel like where we have kind of suffered on this straight, the ERS deployment had to be used. as you can see, they're battling out in front of us, and we're actually going to be really, really close to them. Literally a second splits us, so we might even get DRS on them by the time that we get to that straight. A really wide corner though, and Carlos Sainz is going to take a look as we go onto the long straight. We've got DRS, Carlos Sainz has got DRS. A little bit of a collision there as we nearly wipe each other out, ending both races, but luckily for us we both stay on track as we go through the last set of corners onto the straight, and this is where I've been overtaken so much as we go wide there, losing a lot of time, and Carlos Sainz breezes past us with absolute ease. I mean, it is very frustrating, but there is nothing that can be done, and that is that, and that's what I have to accept at the end of the day. We have both got Ferrari engines, yes, but they're the more experienced driver, they are in the faster car, and etc, etc. I could go on in terms of excuses, but we're not here to make excuses. As I say, we are here to have fun. Lap 18 and 19, and we're going to be battling with Carlos Sainz as we go late again through that corner. I mean, how many times have we done that this Grand Prix as we maintain the stability of the car, and through we go on Carlos Sainz, and we literally, I feel like it's literally going to ball down to the last lap as we are now on lap 18 of 19. We're going to be going on to lap 19 very shortly as we hit the final corner, and behind us is Carlos Sainz, but not for long as he looks to try and see if he can take an overtake. And here we go then, the final lap of the race, and this is going to be a hectic one at that. See if we can maintain our time, and we are late onto the brakes past Carlos Sainz. Through we go through this set of chicane, and that's such a tight bit of the circuit, and to be able to get the car stopped, get it through, back on the power is so important, and you need to execute these parts of the track so well, and that's the only way to be able to get in front of everyone and be up there. I mean, to be honest, I've stuck with the pack so well. I mean, 1.4 seconds just in front. I mean, you cannot say I haven't tried. I mean, going from P12 to being dead in the water in P7 before we pitted, and then we pitted, we seemed to get a decent bit of time on the mediums, and then the lap times kept coming, the battle in front of us, so that slowed them down, and it was just one of those where if our car was a teeny wee little bit faster, we might just be saying that we are going to be in for a podium, but I don't think it's going to be, and we're going to try and maintain this P6 as Carlos Sainz once again is going to go on the charge. A little bit wide, we don't go onto the dirt, but we definitely go over the camber as we try and drain the ERS as much as possible. The gap is notable, and it's definitely nice. Lewis Hamilton going over the line to say he's won this Grand Prix, fair play to the man in the Mercedes, but we are worrying about the one person behind us, and that's Carlos Sainz wide into that corner, and I'm pretty sure Carlos Sainz is going to go through. And unfortunately for us, as much as it's hard to say, we are going to have to settle for P7. A really hard fought, and I'm really glad that I was able to put some displays in terms of the battles that I showed. I mean, I'd been really frustrated if I had it where we had the first initial part of the laps where I was literally just going round and round with no one behind me, no one in front of me. Oscar Piastri getting driver of the day, and as you can see, that confirms the P7. Felipe Massa not doing too bad in the end. He gets into P17. Could be better, it could be worse. It's one of those. You just can't help it. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez sharing the podium, and the last lot being what was it? You got Ocon, Stroll, Norris, myself, Sainz, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, and as I say, the top three. Nothing changes in terms of the standings, depends on the constructors, depends on where I stand at the moment. Still got the people in front of me of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, but at the end of the day, we're nowhere near them, and it's just about kind of running our own race and seeing if we possibly, just possibly, could get anywhere near them, and maybe in the future, maybe in this second season. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Please like and subscribe for more content just like this one, and don't forget to hit the notification button so you never miss a video. Cheers.